Hey guys, welcome back to the game room. I just wanted to thank you again for all the support. I'm thrilled with how well the channel's doing. It's doing better than I ever could have imagined. I'm so glad to have you here watching. If you're interested in my content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Only about 8% of my current viewers are subscribed, so I'd really appreciate it if you would do that and click the bell so you get notified when a new video comes out. They come out every week. Today we're going to do a game review roundup. I'm going to go over 8 games that I've played recently and finished. I'm going to give you the lowdown on them, let you know if they're any good or anything you want to try. Hopefully you'll find something you like, and maybe you'll even find something you want to avoid. So let's roll the credits. Like always, every one of these games was picked randomly out of my backlog. It's just the way I like to do things. Up first, we have a Game Gear game that's a port of an Amiga game, and that is Chuck Rock. If you're not familiar, the Amiga was a very popular computer in Europe, and I guess it's more known for having better graphics and music than it really did gameplay, and Chuck Rock's no exception to that. I mean, I don't really understand what would make a company think that this would be an appealing character to have in a game. It's a pot-bellied caveman. He's not appealing at all, and really almost off-putting, honestly. The gameplay is bad. You really only have like your belly bump, like a jump kick. You're able to pick up and throw rocks, and the hit detection's really poor. It just doesn't really suit itself to being a very fun game. And on the Game Gear, it plays even worse with the normal Game Gear screen. Of course, my Game Gear's broken, so you're seeing me playing it on the Ann Bernick emulator. It's really the only way I have to play it right now. But the game's full of lots of cheap enemies. It's really just not that fun and very tedious, and a departure from the Amiga version and the other mini ports of this game. There's no music during the stages. That's really the only thing that kept the game afloat before, and without that, there's nothing. And there's just plain black backgrounds. It doesn't look great, and you can see here from the gameplay footage, if you're able to see it, that man, it just feels like a bottom of the barrel kind of game. I'm not sure if it's something you would really want to dive into or spend some time with. Maybe try out a different version of it. This is the only version of the first Chuck Rock game that I've ever played, and I was really just not impressed. All that being said, is Chuck Rock something you want to put your time into? Absolutely not. Of course not. This game's like a 4 out of 10. Mark it in blood. Just avoid it if you can. It is not worth your time. Up next, we have a game that is worth your time. It's a classic and a beloved game on the Sega Genesis. It's Lightning Force. So Lightning Force is actually the 4th game in the Thunder Force series, which is beloved. There's 3 games on the Genesis: Thunder Force 2, 3, and 4, and it's a horizontal scrolling shmup. And man, it looks great. The gameplay footage you've seen recorded here was recorded through a cheap HDMI converter, so it's very pixelated, but on a CRT it looks absolutely amazing. This may even be one of the best looking games on the Genesis. I'm very impressed with it. It's also renowned for its soundtrack. However, I was kind of mixed on that. There were some real duds, I felt, but there were some really good tracks that kind of rocked out, that especially the intro track I thought were fantastic. And it's developed by Technosoft, which usually makes pretty good games. I feel like they kind of went crazy with this one. After the 3rd game, they just decided to make everything bigger and better and more. There's better graphics, there's more sound effects, there's better music in theory, even though I don't really agree with that. And then they really ramped up the difficulty. This game has a lot of cheap and unexpected moments where something will zip in from out of frame and just waste you with no telegraphing that it's coming. And so it kind of falls into that memorizer sort of shmup. You have to memorize where everything's going to be before it gets there to really have a chance. And it can be like unfair and almost extremely difficult, really basically impossible if you don't know what's coming, because there's no time to react with anything. Even playing on a CRT with no input delay, you can't react to some of this stuff. However, they did take some pity on you. If you wait for the title credits to roll, you can hold down A, B, or C and press start and change the difficulty from easy to like Maniac. Maniac's a real challenge. Let me tell you, I wasn't able to do much with that. But you can also give yourself more lives there. So if you need to get some more practice into the game, that's the way you do it. If you set your lives to 0, it basically gives you 99 lives, which should be enough to get through the game on normal. If you want a 1 credit clear it, that's a different story. However, in the first stage, on the first mini boss, you can actually just stay up at the top right of the screen and fire backwards and just sit there and farm the enemies for unlimited lives. If you have, 4 or 5 or 6 hours to kill, you can just tape down the fire button and leave it there if you want to. So anybody can actually technically 1 credit clear this game if they want to quote unquote cheat. But doing it for real is a little bit more of a challenge, and it's a lot of fun. It's a rewarding game. I enjoyed it. I was able to 1 credit clear it. And I think it's great. Some of the levels pan upwards and downwards as you scroll up and down, and it kind of almost feels like there are different routes through the stages, but unfortunately some of the areas are a little empty, and there's some downtime where you're just kind of like waiting for action to happen. Of course, you have beautiful backgrounds and graphics to look at while this is happening, so it's not too bad. But I do wish that the game had been maybe edited down a little bit. It's a bit long. It has, I think, 9 stages, which is a bit much. But it's still a great game. And I do think it's something worth your time if you're into horizontal shmups, especially from the 16-bit era. So, is Lightning Force something you want to play? Yeah, I would recommend it. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10. So pretty good. It's a little pricey, hard to play these days. However, I think it's coming out on maybe the new Sega Genesis Mini 2, which is the way you could play it if it's playable on a modern TV. I know those have like HDMI out only video options, which can, on a modern TV, you might have like too much input delay to even react to this stuff. So this is one for the CRT guys. So I play all my old stuff that way. That's what I would recommend for you if you want to dive into this. Hey guys, the next game up is a pretty good one. It's very impactful to me when it first came out, or the first season came out, well over a decade ago. They have, within the last couple years, put all the different seasons and DLC onto a compilation disc, and that is The Walking Dead, the Telltale Games definitive series. So these are adventure games, kind of in the style of dumbed down PC adventure games from back in the day. It was done by Telltale. They have done a million of these different games from different sort of franchises: The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Borderlands, The Wolf Among Us, many more, Batman. And so really what's included in this are the 4 seasons of the Walking Dead games and 2 sort of expansions and or DLC packs. The first game was season 1, which I actually played on the Xbox 360 when it came out, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was a magnificent game. Starring this young girl, 6-year-old maybe, named Clementine. And Clementine, let me tell you, is one of the best video game characters of all time. She's fantastic. And these games kind of go through telling her story as she grows up and becomes more mature. But in season 1, she's very young. She's just a child. She's trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse world. And it's such a touching story. Has some really great characters, just fantastic characters. A lot of good action and fun gameplay. It was really refreshing when it came out. And I just absolutely loved it. It's a 10 out of 10 game. Without a doubt. 100% a masterpiece. Everyone should play it. Season 2 came out shortly after that. Clementine had matured a little bit more. And the game's more of the same. I don't think the characters are quite as good. Clementine's still great, but the rest of the supporting characters are kind of maybe a little bit too on the nose with being purely evil and obviously going to be the person that turns into the bad guy. And it's just more of the same, honestly. I found it to be a really fantastic and truly great game. Maybe not as good as Season 1, but it's still great. Maybe like a 9 out of 10. Season 3, I don't know what Telltale was thinking here. They kind of had like, lightning caught in a bottle, and they decided to abandon that. But Season 3 is like a departure that focuses on a completely different family, dealing with an ex Major League Baseball player and his sort of ex-military brother, and how their family survives through the zombie apocalypse. And Clementine's in it, but she's like a supporting character. She's still the most interesting character in the whole game. The other ones are okay, but it just felt like a buffer, like sort of like a padded season, just to fill in space. It was still decent. I liked seeing what was going on with Clementine, although her not being the main character was a little disappointing. It's good. It's like a 7 out of 10. So still worth your time, and if you like Clementine, it's worth it. Season 4 returns back with Clementine as the main character, and it's great to have her back. But they completely changed up the gameplay in this one, and they really spread out the different chapters of the game, which went from being like an hour long to 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. And Clementine's hanging out at this abandoned school for children, which is really the only main characters in the game are just kids. And there's just a lot of like sitting around with the kids talking and musing on their past and how they feel about certain stuff. And it just feels really, really drawn out and wordy. It takes a long time for them to get to the point, and there are a lot of scenes and things they talk about that never really go anywhere. It just doesn't play like the other games. It tries to be more focused on the combat, but it's still super shallow. And there's even problems where like the QuickTime events in these games, which the game kind of focuses on QuickTime events. Like if you do them too quickly, like as soon as the prompt appears on the screen, it won't register it. It wants the prompt to appear on the screen, and then for you to wait like a second or two and then press the corresponding button. So that was really annoying, having to redo areas over and over again because I was like, too good. Don't punish people for being too fast. The game was good. I liked the resolution of the story. It was nice to see what ended up happening to Clementine, and the people she cared about. But most of the supporting characters in the locale just wasn't as likable as really even any of the previous games. So it was still decent. It was still fun. It did drop off from the beginning of the series. So I would also give this one a 7 out of 10. Also included in this are the 2 expansions, the 400 Days, which is just like, I guess it falls between Season 1 and Season 2, and it's just a bunch of vignettes of like random, 10-minute, 15-minute stories of just like random people that are trying to go through this zombie apocalypse. And you don't know who anybody is. You don't really care about them. Some of the stories are interesting. Most of them are just kind of a waste of time. And it wasn't really very good. And it didn't have much to say, and it didn't contribute to the overarching story in any other way. It's like a 5 out of 10 kind of experience. And then the last piece of DLC is the Michonne content. Michonne's like a beloved character from the TV show. And so this focuses on her kind of at the onset of the whole zombie apocalypse. And it flashes back between her and the present day and what was going on like the night of the zombie apocalypse with her sort of losing her daughters. Not losing them as in they died, but just she wasn't able to find them. She rushed home after the zombie apocalypse started and was never able to find her daughters. And they're still missing at large. And so that's fine, but it cuts between that and like what's going on in the modern day. And she has some severe PTSD, obviously from losing her daughters, but she's like seeing visions of her daughters everywhere she goes, and it completely inhibits her from being able to deal with what's going on around her. Like she'll be standing in a zombie infested room and like she'll just stand there ruminating about her daughters instead of like saving the people around her, like getting out of Dodge and trying to save herself. And it's interesting, and I could see that happening a few times, but it's like it happens in every single encounter in this expansion. And it's just too much. It makes the action that's going on feel less important than it is, and it makes the loss of her daughters feel less impactful because it's visions, she's hallucinating it, and it's set in this like current day thing. So that what they should have done is like focused on what's going on right now and not had the flashbacks of the daughters, or more interestingly, focus on the night that she got separated from her daughters and tell that story. But like blending them together just kind of waters them both down. It's okay. It's worth playing, but I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. So for the overall package, we got a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, a couple of 7s out of 10, couple of 5s out of 10. How is it? I'd say the total package is like a 7 out of 10 overall. The first 2 games are great. They're very impactful and you should play them. However, this compilation has some buggy problems. There's some texture pop in, and apparently without like the day 1 patch, this is unplayable. Apparently some people can't even like play it or start some of the content. They load up season 2 and it won't detect their save from season 1 and the choices they made, and it crashes and all sort of things like that. So really, without being able to download the patches, this is really an unplayable game. So 20 years from the future, if you open up a sealed copy and the servers are down and you can't get the patch, it's a coaster. That being said, I do think that the first couple Walking Dead games are just so good you need to play them, and maybe even play the 4th one, the final season. You could maybe skip the 3rd one. It does have some key components in it, but you can pick that up from context. Up next is a return to form for a beloved series. I was looking forward to it. It's for the Nintendo DS, and that is Contra IV. Contra IV, unlike a lot of the other Contra games that have come out over the last, 20 years, feels like a real sequel to the NES games. It's really almost like a remake of the first one. A lot of the bosses are similar, and the layouts of the stages and just the concepts they go through are taken from the first game. And this one was developed by Way Forward, which kind of surprising. I guess they're sort of like the go-to side-scrolling masters these days. But I associate them more with like the Shantae series, and I think it's funny for them to do like a Rambo action kind of game, but I'm sure the people there were just as big fans as we all are. Anyway, this game's great. Its gimmick is that it uses both of the screens on the DS. You can see me playing it on my 3DS here. Sorry about the lighting. I should have turned the lights off. I didn't know any better, so you can see the screen better, but you can get the idea, which is cool, but you have to keep your eyes on both of the screens at once. Maybe I would have benefited from actually playing it on an original DS that had smaller screens, because keeping everything in your field of vision is kind of hard. And with that the hinge of the DS or the 3DS in the middle, it like leaves a blind spot in the center. And there were tons of times I would like jump into that area and there'd be a bullet hidden there that would kill me, or an enemy or something. So I don't know. I think it's cool. That's a cool idea, but I think it actually takes away from the gameplay more than it adds to it. And man, even little things like that can be a lot in this, because this game is difficult. I mean, it is super hard. It has different difficulty levels. There's easy, which is doable. You should be able to finish that if you put in a little bit of time. But it doesn't let you play the last few stages or the last couple of stages. They want you to play on normal. So after you do that, you crank it up to normal, and it's tough. It's harder than the original Contra. I'd say it's harder than Super C. I don't know if it's as hard as Contra Hardcore, but it's pretty ruthless, and I struggled with it. It took me a good amount of time playing through this to be able to beat it. And I think that the game kind of faltered a little bit. It being sort of a modern game, or relatively modern, it could have used unlimited continues. The levels are hard enough to get through even at all, even with like doing the infinite lives, or not infinite, but like the 36 live cheat, which you can do in this, at least on your first continue at the beginning of the game. But it's good to be able in a game like this, with this sort of fast-paced arcade action, to be able to start at the beginning of a level you need to practice, and the game just limiting your continues to only 3 on normal, and I think 1 on hard, just is draconian and like unnecessarily hard, because you have to play through the entire game to get back up to that point to practice, and by that point you may only have 1 continue left, and you don't get enough time. So I think it would have been better for the game to have unlimited continues, or some way to unlock more continues through time spent in the game. Maybe for like every hour you play, or 2 hours, you get an extra continue or something like that. But it does look great, and it has some cool unlockables. You can unlock the original Contra and the original Super C by completing some of the challenges in the game, which is a nice touch. I don't know that I would want to play them here. I'd prefer to play them on a bigger screen on a CRT, but it's still a nice inclusion, and I think it's a great addition really to anyone's DS collection. It's kind of hard to find these days, but that's understandable considering how good it is. So is Contra IV something you want to pick up? Absolutely. It's a great game. It's like a 8 out of 10. I would recommend it to anyone that likes action games, and if you're a Contra fan, it's an essential purchase, and really something that you want to spend some time with. It might take you months to really learn to master the game. It's not something I have time for these days, but I was able to master it enough to beat it on normal, which I'm proud of these days. If I'd had like as much time as I did as a kid, I probably could have gotten to the point where I could, no miss the game and play through without ever getting hit. So up next, we have a pseudo sequel in the Final Fantasy series. It's actually part of the Saga series, but it's Final Fantasy Legend II on the original Game Boy. Like I said, Final Fantasy Legend II is actually just the second game in the Saga series, and it's a standard like kind of 8-bit RPG, like Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy, or Dragon Quest. It's sort of in that genre. You kind of start off, you can pick some different classes, races that have different attributes and really different play mechanics, to begin with, which is an interesting idea, and I like that. I applaud them for that. But like most 8-bit RPGs, man, the random battles are just way too often in this game. It's just like sometimes you'll get out of a battle and you'll take one step and you'll just have another combat encounter. It's way over the top. And to make matters worse, there's no leveling up mechanic in this game. Your characters just level up their stats randomly. It's literally just random. So you could spend 3 hours grinding and maybe only level up a stat 2 times, or you could spend 30 minutes and you'll level up 7 times. And it's really annoying not knowing how much time you're going to need to put in, and you're going to have to put in time because you really need to grind in this game. The people that that review it online, they're like, oh, you can beat it in 6 hours or so. It's really short. That's only if you're like a master of the game and you know how to exploit every little mechanic in it to get an advantage. For your normal, sane person who's just diving into this the first time, it's like a 12 or 15 hour RPG. And things like that, like not being able to just grind up your XP normally and just rely on like random number generation really to dictate how strong your characters get is frustrating. It's time wasting, and I really didn't like that mechanic. And not only that, your weapons and your abilities that your characters use, they break or they become unusable after like a set number of uses, like 15 or 20 times. So you have to constantly keep purchasing or replacing your weapons or going back to an inn to rest, which eats up like 75% of the money you make over like a grinding trip. So let's say you're in a village and you walk outside and you grind 8 battles. Half your weapons break. You may be leveled up 1 or 2 times or not at all or 70 times, who knows. And then you go back into town and let's say you made like 1,000 gold. Staying at the hotel or at the inn will use like 850 of your gold, which just eats up even more time. So it's just like a relentless, like an inexorable grind you can't really overcome. And it's super irritating. And so I wasn't a fan of the first one. I'm not a fan of this one either. It's not something I would recommend. Although it does look cute, and I think the graphics are pretty good for a Game Boy game, and the music's nice as well. But it's the same old sort of 8-bit trope in terms of story. You're looking for some crystal or a version of a crystal to stop a great evil from coming, and you have to find all the crystals. And your father, he deserted you as a child. Your father abandoned you. He went out to grab something and never came back, and you're kind of hunting for him. And it's just, we've seen it so many times. I just don't think there's anything here in the recording of this video, which is 2022, to maintain your interest unless you're like a real fan of these deep cut sort of RPGs from the yesteryear. That being said, is Final Fantasy Legend II something you should play today? I don't really think so. I don't think it's worth your time. It's fun. Collectors need it for the Final Fantasy collection, but it's just it's not something that fits in with the busy time schedule that people have these days, especially not mine. It was a real chore for me to get through it, and honestly, I didn't finish the game. I put in about 10 hours and felt like I had seen everything there was to see, and there wasn't really anything new I was interested in finding out about the game. And so I decided to put it on the shelf and move on to greener pastures, so to speak. So I would give Final Fantasy Legend II, which is really Saga 2, sadly, a 4 out of 10, guys. Sorry. Sticking with the Game Boy theme, we have a fantastic game here. Maybe the best game on the Game Boy. I got it as a kid. I was really disappointed to receive it as a Christmas present, and I thought, oh man, I've played this a million times. I don't want to spend any time with this. Little did I know after the 4th stage, the game was going to completely flip-flop on me into a new style, and it's fantastic. It holds up extremely well today. I would recommend it to anyone, and believe it or not, that game is Donkey Kong on the original Game Boy. Like I said, guys, this may be one of the best games on the Game Boy, if not the best game. I got it for a present, and I was like, this is just normal Donkey Kong, like the arcade Donkey Kong. This is going to be boring. But after you get through the 4th stage, instead of the game looping like the arcade does, it completely goes into a different style of game. It's a puzzle platformer. With a lot of really interesting mechanics and ideas. Nintendo are masters of that with their first-party games, of taking a simple idea and just exhausting every single thing you can do with it. In this case, the different ways Mario jumps and the different items he collects, and it's so much fun. Basically, what your goal is to collect the key somewhere in the level, and maybe grab some collectibles along the way and take the key to the exit and move on to the next stage. And if you collect all the collectibles within the level, at the end of the level, you'll get to go play a casino game like a roulette wheel or a slot machine to earn some extra lives. But that's not really big of an issue. You get to save your game every 4 stages. And I think when I finished the game, I maybe had like 75 or 99 lives. It was a lot. And so after each section of each stage, you get to square off kind of against Donkey Kong in a different style level where you need to drop him off a platform or something like that, or hit him with some barrels in classic Donkey Kong form. But it's so much fun. Like, the characters are super charming, the music's great, the gameplay's fun, solving the puzzles is a lot of fun. There were a couple times where I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I was never able to beat it as a kid, and I didn't really have much memory of playing the stages other than the fact that I remember them being good. But I had to look up some solutions online, and a lot of times I look up solutions online, I'm like, oh man, how would anybody ever figure that out? That's so stupid. But in this case, it was quite the opposite. I was like, oh man, I'm so stupid. I should have been able to figure it out. But it's a great game. You can play through it in a weekend. I think there are probably about maybe close to 100 stages, maybe a little bit more than that. And I was able to finish it, and I loved it. And when I recorded this gameplay footage for you guys, I got to fire it back up and play it a little bit more, and it just sucked me back in. I ended up playing it like another hour, even though I just finished it, a few weeks earlier. It's such a good game, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So guys, how good is Donkey Kong on the Game Boy? It's great. It's a masterpiece. It is a 10 out of 10. Mark it in blood. Every gamer needs to play this game. If you're a collector, you need to get it. It's great. I can't imagine anyone not liking this game. And I don't like puzzle platformers, but this one's fantastic. So go ahead and add it to your backlog, and maybe in 30 years you'll get to play it. All right, guys, the last game that I've knocked out recently is Paradise Killer. This one's on the Nintendo Switch, and it's from our buddies over at First Print Games. It was a real surprise. It's kind of in that Danganronpa series where you investigate like a murder or a crime, and you gather clues by exploring around the island. And after you gather enough clues and piece together what's going on, you sort of have a trial at the end of the game to accuse everyone of who the murderer and or murderers are. It's really interesting. The theme of this game is like, I don't know how to describe it, tropical goth, which is like a funny mashup of genres. But it's on this like tropical island with a vaporwave aesthetic, but all like the characters have like a dark blackened Egyptian pyramid goth sort of aesthetic to it, which is really funny and entertaining. I liked it a lot. And exploring the island's wonderful. Most of the time you'll just be exploring this open world, and at times it's very banal and pedestrian and seems normal, like when you're hanging out at the docks and stuff and it's just a bunch of warehouses. And then other times you'll go in like a blood splattered golden obelisk and hang out on top of radar towers, and it is very strange, but really cool setting. It's campy enough to really kind of engage you. One of the things that's strange about it is that the game uses a lot of bizarre terminology. So, like, the characters have strange names like Lady Love Dies, and they're just like noun clusters of different stuff. So when they're talking, it can become very verbose and kind of hard to get what they're talking about until you start piecing together sort of this strange language that they've pieced together with their terminology. But it's cool once you learn about it and kind of become familiar with it. It helps. It's almost like watching an anime where all the names are in a language that you're not familiar with, so you have a hard time relating the name to the character. But in this case, everything's in English, but the names are just so bizarre that they may as well have been in a foreign language. Like I said, you talk to different interesting characters and you gather clues and you question them about the clues and you try to piece everything together. And as you're traversing the map, at first it's very confusing. It feels like areas are blocked off to you, and I guess some of them are, but some areas that are open, it's hard to navigate because on the map you can't. It shows like what region you're in, but not where you're at in the region. And when you're actually traversing the area, it doesn't tell you if you're facing north or south or east or west. You just kind of have to get your bearings based on what you see in the distance. And if you don't know what you're looking at in the distance, there's no way from the map to determine what you're doing. It's almost like an orienteering exercise, which can be kind of frustrating. But once you learn where everything is, traversing the map becomes very effortless. I will say this though, I was like 3/4 of the way through the game before I kind of knew my way around the island, which I don't know if that's saying something about my sense of direction. You can ask my wife about that, but it was surprising how oddly the island was laid out. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that old PC game Myst. Every area of it had like a striking, maybe a building or a feature in it that made it stand out. And so you think to yourself like, oh, this is the area with the clock, or this is the area with the sand, or this is the area with the long tunnel, rather than like, you know, this is the town center, or this is the beach, or this is the railroad path. So piecing it all together in your mind kind of takes a while, and with the characters' names and the terminology, it's more of that. And the other thing I have to say about it is the trial at the end, interesting, but it wasn't like Danganronpa where you have to like question the other suspects and like remember the clues you've collected and object to their statements and things like that. You just basically present the evidence that you've collected, and if you were diligent over the course of the game and collected as much evidence as you could, the judge really he's the one that kind of pieces it all together, and so it's really more about exploring the island and talking to the characters than it is, you know, trying to formulate and put together a coherent statement at your trial and accuse the person. Still, that being said, it was a great game. I was glad I played it, and I enjoyed my time with it. So, Paradise Killer on the Switch, is it worth your time? Yeah, it's worth your time. I think it's a really good game. I would say it's great. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. So, if you like this sort of game, this is one you should play. It only came out a few months ago. I'm really surprised it was picked for me to play so quickly. That just happens sometimes. Sometimes games sit in the backlog for decades, and then other times they get picked a few months after they come out. Anyway, that's it, guys. There are 8 games I finished recently. I'm working on a few more right now, and there'll be another one of these videos, you know, when I have enough games that I've finished to make the video worthwhile for you guys. I really appreciate all the support once again, and like I said, I'm thrilled with how well the Game Room Tour has done. It's still just moving right along. People seem to really like it. So thank you for watching. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in a week, and we'll do something else fun. I have a new video style I haven't done. Not video style, but a new type of video that I haven't done before. And I think you guys will really like it. So thanks again.